This is the Soldiers of Cinema podcast with Clark Coffey and Cullen McFader. And today we are going to be discussing the very serious musical biopic, Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox Story. How excited are you to do this film, Cullen?
I'm brilliantly excited because it's been so long since we've talked about a very serious, grounded piece of media that, is touches the real truths of humanity. It's about an everyman. It's about someone who goes through something that all of us will one day go through.
I mean, really, if you break it down, I feel like it's like the Joseph Campbell. This is the hero's journey. This is this is real. This is the real deal, Cullen.
Yes.
And we're going to be diving right in to discuss this film. I'm trying to think. You and I were talking about this briefly before we started rolling. I don't think that we have, in the entirety of all of our 100 plus episodes, I don't think that we have ever done as serious a film as this one.
No.
But in all seriousness, I don't think we've ever done just like a full-on, flat-out comedic film. And obviously we've done films with comedic, a lot of films that have like some comedy in them. And of course, a lot of, very serious films, dramas, you name it, like run the whole gamut, science fiction films, whatever it is, will often have, humor in them, of course. But this is the first time, and which blows my mind, honestly, that we have not picked a full-on, flat-out comedy movie to discuss on this podcast. And it almost makes me wonder, are we prejudiced against comedy? Is it because we're afraid that nobody will take us seriously? And it's funny that it didn't even cross my mind to do a comedy until now. So
we demand to be taken seriously. So that's my request of the audience this episode.
So, all right. Well, you've got to earn it, Cullen. You're going to have to earn it. If you want people to take you seriously, then you're going to have to earn it. So let's see if we can do that with this episode.
Mr. Cox. Mr. Cox.
Give him a minute, son. Dewey Cox needs to think about his entire life before he plays.
From the time he was a boy.
Ain't no 6-year-old understand the true meaning of the blues.
I reckon I might.
I done a bad thing. Cut my brother in half.
It's not bad for your first time.
The music of Dewey Cox has had an effect on people.
It's the devil's music!
From the guy who brought you Talladega Nights and Superbad.
I've got to give up this dream! You're never gonna make it!
And maybe you don't believe in me after all.
I do believe in you. I just know you're gonna fail.
Columbia Pictures presents The Epic Journey.
Walking to the top of a mountain ain't easy. It's a long, hard walk. But I will walk hard.
Of the man who became a legend.
Walk hard.
The Beatles want to hang out, so I'm gonna go do that.
With meditation, there's no limit to what we can imagine.
This Christmas.
I'm leaving you.
You can take the children, but you leave me, my monkey.
When it comes to music.
I ain't good enough to follow Elvis.
There's two things you need to know. I'm the king, and number two is look out, man! You see how close I came to your head? I can chop a man in half.
I'm guilty as charged.
No legend is bigger than Cox.
You met my new wife, Cheryl Cox T. Thanks, Buddy Holly. What do you think, George Harrison?
The one, the only, Dewey Cox.
And thank you, Eddie Vedder.
Walk hard.
What happened to you, Dewey?
I don't know, but I know what happened to you. Patrick Duffy took a beating.
Walk hard.
My life has been blessed, from my singing to my family to my sausage. It doesn't say Cox unless I say it tastes like Cox.
Walk hard.
So, like we always like to do, we start off discussing kind of our personal relationship with the film, if we can remember first time that we watched the film and what we thought about it. and then we'll just dive into kind of dissecting every little aspect of this film from there. But Cullen, you had said that you'd seen this film before, and I'm really curious to know where, when, what, how, who, etc.
Yeah, so I did obviously, I mean, I didn't see this movie when it came out, 2007, I was 9. But I had heard a lot about it for ages, as a big John C. Reilly fan. It was just kind of one of those things that's in his oeuvre.
Now, what did you know him from? Did you know him from his, earlier, more dramatic work, or did you know him like as a comedic actor at that point?
I definitely as a comedic. I mean, growing up just as a comedic, he's Step Brothers was probably the thing that I recognized him from my childhood. And but he also, I'm a big, for anyone who likes Tim and Eric out there, I'm a big Dr. Steve Brule fan. And I saw this the first time not too long ago, probably within the last 4 years or so. Like it wasn't something that I watched ages ago. But I always sort of knew that at least my impression of it was that it was kind of a relatively not unknown film of his, but not nearly on the level of something like a Step Brothers or something like that, or Talladega Nights, exactly, where friends of mine had seen the movie, but you ask like a layman, about it, and a lot of people hadn't heard of it or just had never seen it. So it was kind of an interesting thing because I also always heard good things about it. People always sort of said it's a a funny movie. It's got like some of the best bits of his career in their opinions, and I would say that is true in many moments of this. But it didn't do well at the box office, so I suppose it just never had that kind of lasting impact. So I saw it not super long ago, last maybe like again 4 or 5 years ago maybe. And I liked it. I've never seen, and this is something we were going to discuss, I've never seen the original theatrical cut, which is 96 minutes. I've only ever seen the 2-hour version, so there's about 20-ish additional minutes in the version that I've seen and the version that you've seen. And I think that's probably the more popular version because that's most of the opinion of the internet is that that's the superior version, that it extends some of the funnier moments and adds more music and things like that. So when I first saw it, I liked it. It stuck with me. I had a positive impression of it. Thought it was shot on film, which is something that we'll get into a bit later. I think that John C. Reilly does like a really fantastic job of playing this absurdity completely seriously. And then I actually rewatched it within about the last year or so. So this is kind of a fresh second viewing, well, third viewing technically of all time, but second viewing for me in the past little recent while, which has sort of helped me again, similarly to a movie we did not too long ago either. It's made it more obvious what sticks out to me as things that I like, things that maybe drag a little. It becomes all the more apparent, of course, because when you watch something that close together, it's, you sort of remember your last experience. But I've always been a fan since I saw it the first time. It's something that I think is a very funny movie. A lot of the gags work for me. A lot of the jokes.
Okay, I was going to ask. So you actually do laugh when you watch this,
I do
right?
think this is a funny movie.
You're not just trying to discern is it film, is it digital, but you actually laugh.
No,
right?
I do enjoy. Yes, I do enjoy laughter.
Good.
I love. I mean, some of my favorite like comedies are like Airplane and The Naked Gun, and like those very absurd, like
slapsticky,
but also where like logic is kind of tossed out the window, where things don't make sense, things aren't realistic in any sense. There's like gags that break the fourth wall and break the laws of physics and things like that. This movie leans into some of that for sure. But it also is sort of like a middle ground, I would say, where it never goes too fourth wall breaky or too, absurd logic breaking with its jokes. I would say not as far as like a Naked Gun or an Airplane. But it also it does, sprinkle that often, just in many of its moments, the like machete, dissection, and like just in terms of the way that people deliver lines too. I mean, in relation to that machete moment where the doctor is like, it's a real bad case of being cut in half. It's like those kind of things come up all the time where this world is clearly a little bit absurd. People are not normal. So it's not just Dewey standing out as like a weirdo amongst a crowd of normal people. It's everyone is kind of nuts.
It's a real bad case of being cut in half. And I couldn't attach his top half to his bottom half.
Yeah.
Just give it to us in
English.
simple terms. Speak English, doctor. I can't understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I love that bit. That's a great. And then the wrong kid died. I like that recurring. But that's the thing. There's a lot of really great recurring jokes in this movie too that just like crack me up all the time. And Jonah Hill being his grown-up brother, and there's just a level of like absurdity to it in that sense, in the writing sense, and it's a movie also that's filled with many celebrity cameos, but they sort of intentionally miscast a lot of the celebrity cameos to be people that they shouldn't be. Jack White is Elvis, and like Jack Black is Paul McCartney, all this
it's good stuff. Just to give my quick kind of rundown on my experience with the film before we selected it for the podcast. I don't have a specific recollection of the first time I saw this film. I'm almost certain that I didn't see it in a theater. Not for any real reason, not because I wouldn't have, not because and who knows? I mean, maybe the same reason that I kind of missed it, maybe is the reason a lot of people missed it. I don't exactly have a specific recollection of when this film hit the theaters, but it was a box office disappointment. Even though it was critically got good reviews, and barely made half its budget back. So I don't know, what other. I can't recall what films it was competing against. I don't know what was going on in the world at that time. But I missed it. And I was a big fan of comedies that would have been like. Let's see, what would have been around that time? When did Superbad come out? Because I did
around the same time. I think Superbad was 2008, maybe.
Okay, so yeah, it was. It wasn't like I wasn't going.
Or no,
to
same
the
year,
theater.
2007 as well. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay, there you go. So it wasn't like I wasn't going to the theater to see these kind of movies. I remember. I have a very clear recollection of going to see Superbad at the theater and laughing my butt off. Like I thought it was hysterical. I had a great time. So this would have been right up my alley. I would have totally gone to see this film at the theater, but somehow I missed it. So it's weird, some movies I have such a specific, such a specific clear recollection of when I saw them. I don't have this for this, but what I do have are like these snippets of other times that I saw it. Like I've got this memory of, I had a couple good friends over and we're all sitting around and had like a fun day out at the beach or something, and we're like back at the house, and I'm like, hey, let's watch a movie, and everybody's like, oh, I don't, and it's kind of that whole thing, right? Like you want to watch a movie, and then it's like, oh, picking a movie is like such a pain in the butt, right? You're like going through like all of the menus on the streaming stuff or whatever crap, and I'm like, I bust out my physical media collection. And I'm scrolling through. I'm like super nerdy about this. I have a whole like alphabetized on my phone. Like I can scroll through. It's by genre. It's by year. It's by whatever. And I'm like, oop, stop on Walk Hard. And I'm like, I feel like it's time for a comedy. Pop this in. Everybody is laughing their butts off like for the whole night. So I have like several recollection of that where it's like watching the film, everybody laughing, everybody having a good time. So I don't have a memory of when I saw this for the first time. So it's almost just like it's always been there. But I definitely to the point where I thought that Judd Apatow actually did direct this, like, and he did not. But I am a fan of Judd Apatow. He's like one of the few like contemporary. I think it would be fair to call him like an auteur of comedic films. I mean, I think that would be fair. There may be others, and maybe I will think of them as we go through this podcast. Right now, I can't think of any off the top of my head who are contemporary and who are working right now. But I've been a fan of a lot of the films that he's either directed or produced, and I don't think there's a lot of people. I mean, there just aren't a lot of movies like this being made lately, and unless I'm missing them. Certainly not large theatrical releases.
Yeah.
And I think I had already talked about Talladega Nights. I'm a fan of that. Superbad, I'm a fan of that. I actually am a fan of, oh crap, I'm spacing it, but you can help me. What's the one? It's, oh geez. Where it's a bunch of comedians and, oh darn it, hold on. I'm gonna get it. Well, Cable Guy, I really liked. There's like a lot of movies that I like. Funny People is what I was thinking of. I even like Funny People, which a lot of people don't like. It's a couple years after this one.
Adam Sandler, right? Yeah.
Adam Sandler, yeah. I think he's got cancer in the film, if I'm not mistaken. There's a lot of stand-up comedians in the film. I actually really like that movie. So there's a lot of films that I like that he's been involved in. Anyway, where was I going with this? I totally I've seen so many of the films that this film is parodying, right? The kind of like this, the stock and trade, the standard musical biopic film, right? And I'm not even going to be able to name all the films that they have references to here, but so many of them stand out, and I feel like, and I don't know if you and I talked about this a little bit when we covered. Now you're going to have to help me again. Geez, it's almost like I can't remember anything. The film that we did with Bradley Cooper, the musical biopic.
Maestro.
We were just Maestro. I don't know if we talked about that, about kind of like that really kind of like standard, template that
formula
that these musical, that these biopics use, and frankly, it's not even necessarily really limited to the musical biopic. I think it's kind of a template that's applied to biopics in general. To be frank, right? It's like
there are very specific musical ones that this obviously cribs on, like the totally, starting at a concert in their old age.
Well, there was even that Joaquin Phoenix film about Johnny Cash that came out just I feel like right in the same era.
Yeah, that's James Mangold's Walk the Line. Yeah, which I think this was a direct parody. If this is any parody one-to-one, and
it's not a one-to-one, but clearly, I mean, Walk Hard, Walk the Line. There's like an era in this film where John C. Reilly is clearly kind of aping Johnny Cash.
You have like titular song,
Yeah, of course, the song, and you have the relationship, which was a big part of Walk the Line, and I think that was Joaquin Phoenix and Reese Witherspoon.
And as you know, in Walk the Line, his wife has 200 children and has to keep.
You can't expect me to just be there every time you have a child. Another great line, another great moment in Walk Hard. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, clearly this is and even the poster is a knock on the Doors. Jim Morrison's shirtless photo. I mean, they're just going for it. So anyway, to kind of circle back into this series of digressions. I mean, and the thing, and we've never picked a movie like this, but I love all kinds of cinema, and there is definitely like my inner 12-year-old loves these kind of comedies. I mean, and I wish we had more of them. And I love it when a movie is able to get goofy. And one of the funniest things in the world to me is what I feel like this film does so well, which is and we'll get into all these other aspects, here in a second. But when a film, it's really like super competent, right? This is well shot. I mean, if it weren't for the gags, this film could completely pass as a serious, legitimate film. The cinematography, the performances, the music, everything is of such a high caliber. And I love the idea of doing something so straight and doing it so well and then using that to just totally, like, it's just a total subversion, right? It's
I think that they said their goal was to kind of make a real biopic of a ridiculous person, and not to make a parody biopic that's like,
And that's genius. And it's genius because really this is a better biopic with better songs and better performances than most of them out there, frankly. Like, I dare anyone to put this up against Bohemian Rhapsody. I mean, this is at every single level, at every single technical level, this is a profoundly more competent film than that. And I'll put money on that. I will argue that with anyone. Yeah. And there are others, right? And these films that take themselves so seriously. And so I guess that just stands out to me about this film, and I absolutely love that aspect of it to me. All right, so
I do like movies where it's like, this is cribbing on tropes, and it makes people almost afraid to do those tropes for years after.
Well, you would think, you would think, but then we have movies like Bohemian Rhapsody, right?
But even Bohemian Rhapsody, that was 15 years after that. Like there was kind of, I think, a moratorium. So you're saying maybe they forgot. I think that they've moved. I think there was like the people have forgotten that this, because like I just think that's always very funny when it's like the parody actually kills the almost the genre for a little bit
because it's so true. This hits so close to home that they do it so well that you're right. It's like, holy crap, we can't use that template anymore. We're going to have to change this up because it's so clearly pointed out the ridiculousness of it. And really, it's not to point out, that any particular or specific movie is quote unquote horrible or made poorly or whatever. I mean, it's just that life is surreal. It's just that. This is my take.
Well, it's that artistic truth versus the
and it's look, all of this is surreal. Look, these movies where you're trying to cram somebody's entire life and you're trying to somehow shoehorn their creative process into a 90 or 120 minute long movie. I mean, it's just the surrealness of the attempt of even doing that, right? And it just, I think it just, anyway, not to, look, it's a goofy comedy. I don't mean to try to overanalyze it, but to some extent that is what we do on this podcast. So, I mean, all of that just makes it all the more funny to me. And I still love those, I love Stone's The Doors. I think that Walk the Line is a good movie. Some of them, Bohemian Rhapsody, are objectively horrible movies.
Well, it's actually fascinating because you mentioned Bohemian Rhapsody. It's fascinating because there was the second director whose name I'm blanking on who took over when Brian. What's his last name? The director.
Which film are you talking about? Which
Bohemian Rhapsody? Okay. Brian Singer. Brian Singer had to leave Bohemian Rhapsody because he was the on-set behavior and all this. I mean, he's got a whole slew of, we could do an episode on his Wikipedia controversies page. But the director that took over, whose name I'm blanking on, because he's not
Dexter Fletcher is
Dexter Fletcher. Over. Yes. He went on to direct the film that, again, the title of the film I'm blanking on, but the
what was this right after Bohemian Rhapsody? Is that what you're talking
about? What's it, Benny and the Jets? Why am I blanking on Elton John?
I didn't
Elton
see
John.
it.
So he directed the Elton John biopic, which then again, the name of that movie I'm completely forgetting.
Okay, that's all right. We know what you're talking about. Yeah,
that one I saw. I actually had never seen. I've seen enough of Bohemian Rhapsody. I'll say that I've seen too much of that movie, but I've never watched it right through. But I did go and see. Some funny enough, I actually at the same drive-in that I saw Superbad at, I saw the Elton John biopic, and
so the Elton John biopic, just to help you out here, it was called Rocket Man.
Yes, of course. So that movie actually was.
I didn't see this.
Took a completely different approach than Bohemian Rhapsody, where it almost kind of tried to break out of the formula that this movie, Dewey Cox, makes fun of so much, which they actually made Rocket Man a musical, So rather than it being like a literal story about Elton John's life and he's
and then having
going
like a
on
few
and
songs,
performing, and then that's where, and it's like a montage to him recording in the studio. It's
Right.
him going through his life, and actually the sequences of his music coming out are done like a musical number. So if he's broken up with, he sings one of his sad songs. When he gets out of his drug addiction, he does "I'm Still Standing,"
Gotcha.
and it works in my opinion. I mean, it's not a great movie by any means. It's got all of the same issues that many of these movies have, especially something like Bohemian Rhapsody. But it works on a level that those movies don't, simply because it is taking a fresher approach to this idea, and it's taking it more abstractly. It's telling the story of this person's life in a way that's not like so literally squishing some 5 years of someone's life into a conversation they have with their father on his deathbed, where he says, "You've got to go learn guitar," and then something like that. It's much more I guess just creative in a sense. It's got they're not tying themselves down to like the literal like biography of this person's life. So that one actually surprisingly works. Did they take their lessons from Walk Hard, Dewey Cox Story? I don't know, probably not. But I do think that it is interesting how there have been movies that have kind of tried to, if not directly in response to this movie, have definitely noticed the trend and noticed the tropes, and the perhaps have felt a little bit of fatigue with those sorts of things, and then have tried to switch up the formula. And I think that this movie in a lot of ways like kind of does that better with a lot of its sequences too, where it, we do have a lot of those moments where, and of course, because it's parodying them, we have those moments where he's on stage singing, he's in the recording studio or whatever. But it also uses the music in a way to like forward the story a lot more than a lot of those movies do.
And the songs are originals, and they're done so well, and they are so funny that you're never bored, right? It's not like you're, look, I think that a lot of times in these musical biopic, and I don't want to like make this just like a kind of a comparison of this film to the musical biopics that it's parodying. I want to actually, get into the guts of this film and on its own merits and discuss it. But this is worth, chatting about for a minute. I think, in a lot of these biopic picks, and I think the Bohemian Rhapsody is a great example of this. I mean, there's such a build up to that. What was it? Was it like Live Aid was their big performance?
Yes.
There was something.
Yeah.
And it's almost like the movie is just using the goodwill of the audience for the songs of the artist, right?
It's like a concert movie.
It's such a crutch.
Point,
Well, it's just a crutch, right? It's like we know that people are going to go nuts to hear this song, and and so it's just we're going to lean on that. Like the music will save us. We have all this built-in goodwill. Everybody loves Queen, and everybody loves this song, and
everybody
so we're going to
remembers
lean
the performance.
And so we're just going to lean on it, right? It's kind of like the high school kid who's the jock high school kid that's running for class president, and he gets up at the podium to give his speech, his campaign speech, and he just like yells out the whatever, go Tigers, whatever the the name of the football team is, and everybody goes it's almost that thing, right? And but what's great about this film is that they don't have any of that. These are all original songs. They definitely do a great job of communicating the era of popular music, of rock and roll that the story is in that moment, because we do go from the 50s through the 60s and 70s and ultimately into the 80s. And I'm not quite sure what decade we end up in at the
I
end.
think that last bit's like 2003 or something. It's
so
like early 2000s.
But primarily, like from a musical perspective, we're going through the 50s, 60s, 70s.
Yeah.
And so they can't rely on that. There's not covers here. There's songs that are reminiscent for sure. So they really did have to actually put a lot of effort into writing and recording original music and making the lyrics interesting enough that when we're watching these performances, it's actually really entertaining. And it is. Yeah. And they don't have any of that crutch. They don't have, we are the champions or whatever, this built-in, built-in thing. So, to me, I think they just really knocked it out of the park for that. I mean, if you listen to the album, which I think was either nominated or maybe won a Grammy, at least nominated. John C. Reilly actually does all the singing himself.
Yeah, he plays guitar.
The music is all original. I mean, it stands on its own. It really does. Like if you love like a comedy album, if you're into Weird Al or something, I mean, this absolutely stands on its own.
And I also think that, like, speaking of the merits of like, to get into that too, and just to echo what you're saying, that like, regardless of the humorous lyrics and how well these things are being parodied, the songs, even if you don't pay attention to lyrics and you were to take them completely seriously,
the music
on that
is actually
level
good.
Too. And I think a lot of that is the fact that they got artists who worked on these real real people who are in the studios for these moments that are being parodied, to work on the film. Like, so someone who worked on Smile with Brian Wilson actually helped write the Brian Wilson parody, the Black Sheep song that he sings. I remember I actually was driving home from a cottage once with a friend of mine.
Wait, a cottage?
A cottage, yes.
Was it like out in the woods? Was it made of gingerbread?
No, it's a Southern Ontario cottage. So that means it's a mansion up in Muskoka Lake, and Steven Spielberg's across the lake in his boat waving at you, and then down the road there's
fantastic.
Russell Crowe or something. But
just randomly.
It's like the Hamptons of the North is what it's called.
The Hamptons of the North. Okay.
Yes, yeah.
I feel a movie right there, but okay.
Yeah. There have been movies shot there and set there. But we were driving home from, it's about 3 hours north of Toronto, 2.5, 3, depending on traffic. And I played my friend the Black Sheep Beach Boys song. I'm a big Beach Boys fan, so I played him the parody song without telling him what it was, and just played it for him. And at the end of the song, like, he just kind of listened to it as a song, and then I was like, that's John C. Reilly. And he would not believe that it was John C. Reilly that sang that song, and that it was a song from a comedy movie. Because it has a level of, and so it's, you've kind of been saying this, but I do like it when a comedy, or even, just anything that a satire in general puts, like you said, such effort into not only satirizing something and not only being a good parody, but actually being a standalone good movie, or song or whatever. And I think that's, again, think
about it. You got to think about it. I mean, to me, it's like, okay, you want to satirize something or parody something. To not only do that, which, let's face it, I mean, that might be the easiest part, although to do it really well, I'm not saying it's easy. Mm-hmm. But to not only do that, but then simultaneously, like, do a better job of making the thing that you're parodying, right? Like, to do both of those at the same time is pretty freaking extraordinary, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I feel like this movie it is literally a better, more enjoyable, like, if you somehow could take out all the gags, this would be a better made biopic film.
Yeah,
than
if this was a real
biopic films.
If Dewey Cox was a real guy, this would be a better. Yeah. And it just, even there's clearly so much, like, attention put into the Beatles animation when he has the bad trip. Like, there's a level of, like, actual artistry. They could have very easily just done a stupid little animation, or not done an animation at all. Just have him have a bad trip with the Beatles.
They could have taken the easy way out on so much of it, and it's it's clear. I mean, you had talked about the cinematography, which I think is really worth mentioning. It's extraordinary, and you were surprised, I think, that it was actually shot digitally.
Yeah, both times I had seen this movie, the first 2 times I'd seen it, I thought that it was filmed. It's 2007, not a lot was shot digitally back then. It was kind of on the cusp of that digital takeover in, like, 2009, 10, 11. But 2007, still very much primarily film, and this movie looks like film. It's really well emulated film, and it's a really good looking movie, which is relatively rare for early digital.
Yeah, no, it's shot extremely well, and it's shot by I'm gonna unfortunately probably mispronounce the last name, but Uda, is it Briesewitz or Briesewitz? But she's done a ton of television stuff that like probably you've seen or at least heard of: True Blood, Hung, United States of Terror. She's and I think she actually directs now, if I'm not mistaken. And I think she's actually like kind of shifted more towards direction, but really wonderful cinematography. I think we talked about the performances. I feel like everybody here is great. I mean, this film is packed with a lot of great cast, and of course that starts with John C. Reilly. And he's just, I don't know how you can not like John C. Reilly, seriously, whether it is his, dramatic roles, everything from, PTA's first film, Hard Eight. Of course, he's in Boogie Nights and Magnolia as well. Gangs of New York and The Aviator. I mean, he was just, I feel like 90s, 2000s. Dude was just, thin, but in Chicago, which was a huge film when it came out. And, I'm not quite sure what the story is as to, why. And I'm not saying why as in I'm questioning it. I think it's awesome. But to go from all of these, serious dramatic films and roles to Talladega Nights and Walk Hard, Step Brothers, and again, like something like
the Adult Swim, Tim and Eric, like this low budget, like these guys were kind of no name people and he was a recurring character on that show,
and crushed it. I've seen a few of those, and I remember, God, I have the vaguest memory, and so I'm going to totally ruin this, but I saw him live. And it was almost like this live variety show kind of performance in LA. I don't remember the venue. It would have been around the time of like Tim and Eric Awesome Show. And I don't know if there was some kind of tie-in or I don't know what was going on there, but it might have been like 2008, 9, something like that in LA. And it was a tiny venue and there were maybe like 50 of us or something. And John C. Reilly was there, and he was performing live, and it was just, it was like he had the whole room just in stitches. Everybody was laughing their butts off. It was hysterical. I don't even remember what the heck it was, and I wish I could, but it was, so clearly he was doing some live stuff there at the time. But I'm just like, how can you not love this guy?
Yeah, no, he seems like, you watch him in interviews and you watch him, like he has a sense of care to even like the silliest of things that he does, which I think totally clearly like bleeds into this film.
I will say this. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, just that like the way that he speaks about every caliber of film that he's done, he speaks with the same. It's like nothing is like kind of beneath him in a sense. He puts care into. I don't even think.
Yeah, not only, I think he has a great capacity to, he clearly is not worried about maintaining some kind of certain kind of cool image. I think a lot of actors would be afraid, especially if they had come from so much of that extraordinary dramatic work that I just kind of rattled off there from the 90s and early 2000s. I think a lot of actors would be afraid to kind of make those leaps that really put himself out on a line the way he does, because I think that's one of the tough things about comedy is that you really do have to go out on a limb. You really do have to make yourself look foolish, and you really have to be willing to embarrass yourself, and not everybody's willing to do that. And he clearly has, and it's not like, and of course he comes out of it just like you admire him all the more. So I don't mean to say that he's making a fool of himself. He's not, but you kind of have to have a certain kind of courage though, and not be afraid of that.
That's exactly what I mean. Yeah, is that he, because he approaches these things with like a level of like dedication. It's like the same as when you see someone on stage doing conviction. Something He's silly totally and they are clearly self-conscious about it, and it makes it more embarrassing that they're self-conscious about it. Whereas if someone goes on stage and does something in complete earnest, but totally it's very funny, but they're committed, then it's you immediately have, like you said, a respect for the fact that they again, that they clearly respect. And that's sort of what I meant with like that nothing is beneath him, in the sense that he's not looking at a low budget comedy show that he's doing and thinking this is, I don't have to put any effort into this, or vice versa. It's so he puts effort into everything, and he's genuinely a very good actor. I think that's
he really is, and it's clear that he's having fun. I think there's other performances in here that are really wonderful people. I think Kristen Wiig is really funny, and there is if there are a few things that I feel like are some deficiencies perhaps in the film, or things that I wish that I wanted to see more of. I mean, I think we all know now, especially since then, that Kristen Wiig is extraordinarily talented. I think it would have been interesting if they would have given her a little more to do maybe in this. Yes, I understand that the film is about Dewey Cox. I get it. And not every character can have the kind of time and have the kind of arc that his character had in this film. I totally get that. I respect it. But there's so much talent there. It would have been interesting to have seen, what if she had been given a little more space and latitude, what she could have done.
Yes, but it's very intentionally, each of her scenes is kind of a growing recycle of the last scene, in that she just is always getting more and more babies, and there's like a joke of every time you see her, it's like the same conversation, but on a grander level, a larger scale, which is funny. But I do agree that there's a level, like, you kind of wonder if she had more to do in the film. What could she have, added? Yeah.
I think Jenna Fisher, I forgot that she was in this. And this would have been, I guess, right, kind of, not in the middle, but maybe a little, like, toward the beginning of her career and fame in The Office. Of course, that was, like, huge. I can't remember now, because it's funny, I didn't actually watch The Office when it was first airing. And so we would have been, like, a couple years into The Office, which I don't know about in Canada. In the U.S., it was huge.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Same here.
Was it also pretty big in Canada? So,
actually, they say a huge element of why VPNs took off so much was because the Canadian Netflix had The Office for so long, and the American Netflix, for some reason, took it down much earlier, and so people were using VPNs to watch The Office on Canadian Netflix.
So she, clearly, like, she was, earning a lot of respect for that. I think she's really good in this. I think it's still, I think she has more to do than Kristen Wiig's character, but still, it might have been interesting to hear a little more from her. But then, of course, Tim Meadows, Chris Parnell, and who else is the other? I'm less familiar with this guy, Matthew Besser, I think, are the three guys that are in his band, if I'm not mistaken. And then you had mentioned Jonah Hill. I totally forgot Jonah Hill was in this as like the ghost of like his brother, like what he would have been like if he were like a little older, which is cracking me up. And Jonah Hill, of course, like, just supremely talented and really took off. He's great in Superbad. He has a very like small role here. But you also have like Craig Robinson, who's also from The Office, has like a smaller role. Harold Ramis is even in this as one of the Jewish record. It really is like stacked with a lot of funny people. Ed Helms is in it. I'm not going to just like rattle off, but also
there's so many different little cameos.
But totally surprised. Like the Temptations are in this for a minute. Jack White is Elvis. Now I completely and totally. Matter of fact, I was watching it, and I don't know. Like I'm just kind of like absorbed into the movie, and it wasn't until I'm like halfway through Jack White's bit as Elvis that I like recognized it was Jack White, and I had to like rewind it and start it over. Not rewind it. You don't really rewind a Blu-ray, but you get the point.
Cut back or whatever.
But I was like, wait a minute, and he's like hysterical as Elvis. Like it is genuinely like that, just the mumbling. I was thinking about it's cracking me up. Eddie Vedder, like it's just And then you were talking about the
Jane Lynch is also the interview, like she does kind of like the 60
That's
minutes
right.
style interview with him, which is always a fun, that's a great scene when she's just kind of trying to like chop, share a moment of like being like, aren't you like, I'm so embarrassed on my show, so I know you know what I'm feeling, and he's completely oblivious to what she's like. He's like, why is this embarrassing? I always love that bit.
And then, like you had mentioned, the Beatles, and when he goes to India, and we're in the '60s, and you've got Paul Rudd and Jack Black, Justin Long,
Jason Schwartzman,
yeah. That's hysterical, and that really well done animated sequence was quite wonderful. So all the performances are like generally across the board outstanding. And I know like soundtrack is a big thing for you, and we kind of touched on that quite a bit, but I really took the time to listen to that this time, and it is like seriously impressive. I'm going to go back and actually listen to the soundtrack. And I don't like, I'm not like huge into like comedy music. Like, when Lonely Island first came out, I was kind of like, I think it's fun, and every once in a while I'm not super big into it. I did like go through a little bit of like a Weird Al phase when I was younger. I remember like being in Boy Scouts, and we would like each one of us owned like one Weird Al tape. And so we would go to like summer camp, and we would like trade off, like, okay, like, hey, I've got this one. And, it'd be like, I've got this one. And we would like trade, and we'd all be like in our tents, like with our Walkmans, like listening to, whatever, like each other's Weird Al tapes, which is kind of a goofy memory.
I do appreciate a good Weird Al. I like Weird Al's music.
For sure. Yeah. And I feel like this is kind of on that level, maybe like slightly dirtier. Probably,
Weird Al's obviously parodying like literal song,
like literal
music.
songs.
Whereas this is all original. Which again is like super impressive. How not only is it just impressive that it's original, but it's impressive that it sounds good too. That it's not just just stock. Like you could so easily have done this movie with very, very basic parodies of music that have no effort put into them, but they clearly put a lot of effort into it.
Yeah, they really could have. I have to say that, and maybe it's that I'm missing them, and maybe you can help kind of like verify if I'm off base here or not. But I feel like there was a string of these comedies, and Judd Apatow was really, frankly, a part of so many of them in this era of the early 2000s. Are they making comedies like this now? And am I just missing it? What's going on in the comedy world today?
I think the thing is, that similar to like a mid-budget drama, I think a mid-budget comedy has kind of just either, if not gone the way of the dinosaur, it is just straight to streaming. There's no theatrical window for things like this. So it's just, if there is anything, it's just on Netflix immediately and lost in the and 2 dozen other things that come out there every day.
And they're just usually crap too.
Yeah.
I mean, it usually is just like filler.
Well, you got to have the second screen, right? You got to make sure that people can watch something with their phone out.
So I guess you listened to that Ben Affleck and Matt Damon interview where they talk about that.
Oh, I haven't seen that one. No, I've
you
just
haven't
seen
this.
Yeah.
Oh, because it was kind of like taken straight from it. So to just kind of go off the path a little bit here, because I thought you were directly referencing this. Yeah. So Matt Damon and Ben Affleck were promoting their film, like The Rip or something, or something. Is that what it is? On the Netflix.
Okay. Yeah.
They've got The Rip. It's like I've not seen it. It's like some kind of like action movie or something. And basically they were kind of talking about how Netflix, I can't remember if if they said that Netflix came to them specific, I don't know if it was a conversation that they had about this film necessarily or just in general, but they were basically saying, look, Netflix is like, look, everybody's on their phones while they're watching movies. So you're going to have to like repeat, significant plot points, 4, 5, 6 times, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So that people can follow along, even if they're kind of really not paying attention. And so that's what I thought you were referencing. And
no, I've heard this I've heard this many times, that it's like that Netflix has a rule that it's that the phone is the priority for the person. So you have to state your plot points out loud. You have to repeat them. You have to, you know, all these silly little things that I think are, well, more than silly. I think they're kind of egregious. But
and I
back
don't
to
think
the point,
But back to the point is that I just don't think that the kind of care that we, because I really think what makes this film so successful is the time, energy, and let's face it, money that they put into the visual elements of this film, getting really good, talented people, the musical elements of this film, really going that extra mile to create something that really stands up in all these ways. It impacts and makes the parody so much more effective. It's kind of like, like Tropic Thunder, I felt like was such a well shot, it was like a quote unquote real film. And it also happens to be just totally bonkers, nuts, over the top crazy. But that's what makes it so damn funny.
It kind of speaks to like a larger trend too, of like where the film industry is, that like a movie like this came out without, with very little fanfare. It didn't make its money back. Tropic Thunder came out with more, and Superbad stuff. Like, those were movies that did well at the time and have sort of lasted. And yet those still at the same time, those were they were good comedies. They were like, nobody was saying that they were masterpieces of cinema or anything like that. And yet I think if something like this came out today and was released in theaters, I think that the level of expectation of quality from audiences, or even if this just went straight to streaming today, I think that quality expectation that people have been built to expect, this would do super well. Like, I think that this would be seen as like, oh my god, like this movie has so much care put into it. And it's like that funny thing where you sometimes like, do
you think people have the patience for this? Do you think, like,
I think people like cared. I think that's the thing, is like, on one hand, yes, but well, yes and no, in a sense that, like, I think there's some people who are just kind of a lost cause. They're going to be on their phones no matter what. They don't go to movie theaters anymore. They just say it's not a thing. But I think for people who, like, I think the biggest issue that I see today is that you kind of have to teach an audience how to enjoy movies again. And you're not going to do that by caring so little about what you're making that you say this is a second screen movie and we've got to,
that's for sure,
expect
I agree
people.
with
that.
Like,
it's like, I think you kind of have to, one thing that I really enjoy doing is going back and watching like family movies, or like just very middling movies that came out to like no rave reviews or anything from like the 90s, early 2000s, late 80s. And these movies that got poor reviews back in the day, a big one for me is like the second Pirates of the Caribbean movie, which I think didn't do as well at the box office, was kind of seen as like a lesser fare when it came out, and was kind of, people said that it, like, the writing wasn't as good and that it was all this sorts of things. And you go back and you watch the second Pirates of the Caribbean movie now, and it's like,
what was
an
the
epic.
second one?
Dead Man's Chest. It's like an epic. It's like the amount of care put into the practical effects. The performances are brilliant. The set pieces are so well directed. It's like tightly edited. It's tightly cast. It's like all these things. And even something like a family comedy. Like, I watched 50 First Dates again recently, the Adam Sandler comedy where he is trying to pick up not Carrie Underwood, what's her name, the
Keira Knightley. No, I don't know. I'm making stuff up. That's
from E.T. Drew Barrymore.
Drew, I'm just making stuff up. I'm like, wait a minute, you were talking about Pirates of the Caribbean.
There's a connection. But this movie that was seen as, like, I'm not saying that 50 First Dates is a masterpiece. I'm not saying that it's great, but the level of care and attention that you see put into those movies is just something that is like so rare today. And it's kind of a shame, because it goes along with this movie as well, where it's like the thought process and the effort put into every single little gag in this movie, and to make the songs sound good, and to have the performances, like the people who actually are giving these performances, they're doing funny things, and they're doing things in a funny way, but they're not like, it's not just, see so many cameos these days. You see like a movie that's loaded with cameos, and it's just someone clearly showing up for their paycheck, saying a few lines in a funny voice, and then clearly it's like they shot in a day on a green screen and were superimposed into the scene. And so I think that this kind of does harken back to, I think, perhaps a bygone era where it's like you just don't get the precision and the care and like the craftsmanship put into movies that are just. I don't think anyone was expecting to win an Oscar with this movie. I don't think anyone was trying to win an Oscar. I don't think anyone was trying to blow the minds of critics with this film. I think they were making a fun comedy movie that, again, had a lot of effort put into it, but it was, the expectations were likely set while they were making it as to what they wanted to do with it, and yet they put in that effort. And nowadays, I think you just don't see that. And I think that goes kind of across the board. That's my long tangent. That's the way I wrap up my long tangent is about...
Well, no, I think it's interesting. I'll have to... certainly theatrically, I haven't seen a lot of films that fall into this category. I'll have to kind of take another look through streaming to see, if there are any films like this being made now. But but in general, I mean, I think that you're probably onto something there. I think that the level of care and attention to, like, we really want to make this technically a good film, and knowing that was going to contribute to the comedy of it. Yeah. Interesting. I don't know if Judd Apatow is working on anything. I know that I keep saying Judd like as if he directed this. I know he didn't. It was the Kasdan.
Yeah, Jake
I know
Kasdan,
that he's moved on to the Jumanji films, which I don't think I've seen any of those. I think his most recent film was Red One, which was like a
Netflix.
Was it a Netflix? It was like
the Santa one, right?
The Rock, and I can't imagine that was very good. I mean, I say that, and I don't want to. I haven't seen it, so I can't say. It certainly didn't look appealing or enticing.
I also have not watched that movie, but I've second screened it in the most literal sense, in that I was in the kitchen making food and someone else was watching it, and I was thinking, "What the hell is that?"
Yeah. So I don't know. So I'm not expecting a ton from him, unfortunately, and I don't know if Judd is working. I think the last thing that I saw of his that he actually directed was probably I think I might have saw The Bubble, but I don't feel like it was very impactful to me.
That was like the COVID one, right?
It might have been. I think it was released in 2022. I honestly, I mean, it literally was like, I don't remember so much of it that I couldn't even tell you what the heck it was about. But I think it was actually the documentary, The Zen Diaries of Gary Shandling. That is the last thing of his that I remember seeing. And that's a documentary that I remember seeing that, like, really, I was like, oh, wow, this is, it's a really exceptional documentary. Truly is. And I highly recommend it to anybody if you're a fan of Judd's, or if you're a fan of Shandling, or just good documentaries or comedy in general, or creative process, or just the human condition. It really is an exceptional documentary. I do highly recommend it. But I don't even know if Judd is making these comedies like this anymore. So I don't know what to say. Yeah. Well, at least we have this one. We can. I've got my Blu-ray. I can cherish it until the disc rots, and then I can't play it anymore, and then I don't know where I'm going to find it again. But
and then you're at the whims of the digital.
And so now that we've opened up this category, perhaps it will inspire you to go outside of the films that we've selected for this podcast before now, and maybe you'll pick some wacky, wild comedy, or who knows what will happen. We're just expanding boundaries, but. Right on, man. Well, we're at the end of this one, unless you've got anything else to add.
No, I think we've said it all.
We've said it all. This is the last word on this film. That nobody will ever need to.
The last word on any film. We've done every single movie.
What we should have done, but we're just too lazy, is that we should have done a parody episode where we parodied, we parodied a podcast breakdown of this film, and actually did the analysis while we were simultaneously parodying the film. Better than any other podcast would ever have done the analysis. We should have mirrored, but we didn't.
Well, there's layers to it. Maybe we have been doing that. And maybe this is part of the parody that we are saying right now.
On that note, until next time, as always, we appreciate you, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Bye-bye.